Good day. It's God Says Ministries here, the House of Fire. And my name is Tavis. I'm speaking to you from South Africa. Yesterday, I was disturbed in my spirit with flashes and glimpses of like visions where words would trigger me off and I'll get a vision and I'll get a flash of a glimpse of a vision. But these visions were disturbing. They were disturbing in a way they revolve around this coronavirus that we have now, that has plagued the whole world. They were disturbing in a way because it was planned by the previous administration of the US. This was planned as a backup plan if their 16-year plan had failed. Now God has revealed to me in glimpses of visions and words that triggered me off to see these visions. He has revealed to me stuff that has been going on behind the scenes. Plans from wicked men and wicked women. Evil plans that have been going on for decades. So when I was disturbed in my spirit yesterday, I wrote down something I posted on Facebook. Then I took photographs, screenshots of it and posted it on Twitter. But halfway through my posting, Twitter cut me off and said I'm a robot or something, and then I had to wait another 12 hours to get on, and when I carried on posting the next day the same thing, I never got one comment on it. I never got one like or anything. And normally I get a minimum of 2 people liking or commenting on it or retweeting it, but absolutely nothing. You see, what was in that was what was the planned for the last 10 decades or decades already. And what was in that was the coronavirus, the fear that are locking you down in your house and keeping you locked down and keeping you in fear, so they could cover up crimes and try and lead us into the new world order with one government and one religion. So in that was basically, this has been going on for decades. This has been taught in the schools of evolution. The survival of the fittest. The survival of the fittest has been drummed into the children for decades now. So when they come out of school or whatever, they see the survival of the fittest. This was an attack on our elderly and our weak. This was an attack on our elderly and our weak, this virus that it was released. Whether it was released in the Wuhan labs or a combination with US and the Wuhan China, it was released upon the world. The only problem is there's a second one. God showed me in the glimpses of visions what they're planning. They're planning a second one. The problem with this second one, the words that we used in it's on the wind of the air. It's airborne. It's an airborne version of this virus. An airborne version of this virus. An airborne version of this virus. Now, on November the 17th, 2019, we had the first confirmed death in China on this coronavirus, so-called first confirmed death of this virus. Yet, on November 2014, Barack Obama stood in front of the people of the United States and spoke, trying to get money in so that they could stockpile their ventilators and all their medical equipment, so that if anything came, it would be there. You see, this virus the second one is their backup plan. So when Trump and the world starts to open and says no more lockdowns, we've tired of these lockdowns, we've got to get open. When they open and the people come out into the light, they want to release this airborne version. So they can say, look, we told you so. We warned you from the beginning. You can't open the country because, look, everybody's getting sick again with the COVID-19. Except this is a variation of the COVID-19 that they have manipulated, that it be airborne. God has shown me that in visions and whatever, that this virus will be airborne. So as soon as President Trump says, let's open the country, and they don't agree with it, they are going to release this thing on purpose. They are going to release this thing on purpose so that it becomes an airborne one, and that it attacks more people than before. You see, they thought they could keep it closed on the one they released already, but they had this backup plan for the airborne one version of the COVID-19. This thing attacks the elderly and the weak. This whole evolution preached and taught in the schools is coming to fruition now, where they're going to say, well, look, it's survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest. We can't help this. It's evolution. Survival of the fittest, which is absolutely junk, rubbish junk. God values every life. The aborted life in the womb of the mother is valued by God because He knew that child before He formed her or him in the womb. How many scientists have we aborted in the womb that God has sent in for AIDS and cancer and all these diseases? This is the plan of the devil all along, to destroy God's people. Now, if I go back to Hussein Obama's speech he gave, and take out some of the lines he spoke over there, maybe this will get your attention. First one, he says, so that if and when a new strain of flu, like the Spanish flu, crops up 5 years from now or a decade from now, 5 years from now or a decade from now. If you're going to say, just generally talking, you're going to be saying, if it pops up 5 or 10 years from now, we are prepared for it. You don't say, if it pops up 5 years from now, and then there's a hesitation, or suddenly he comes in and he says, a decade from now. Why do you jump from 5 to a decade? 5 or 10. You either say 5 or 10 years from now, then we are prepared for it. Now he's trying to get money to be prepared for this virus that might pop up. But he uses the words, and he's a break in between where he's thinking, where he says, so that if and when a new strain of the flu, like the Spanish flu, crops up 5 years from now, and there's a hesitation where he's thinking, and he has to put in, or a decade from now, we are ready for it, basically. So 5 years from when he spoke was 5 years and 12 days. 5 years and 12 days. The first reported death of the coronavirus appeared in China. 5 years and 12 days. We know the coronavirus was earlier than that, because the Chinese were earlier in October. So let's just call it straight 5 years. A straight 5 years. Obama knew about this virus 5 years ago. He knew it was planned for this specific time. For this specific time. To be released upon the people for this specific time. How do I know there's another virus? How do I know they got two versions of it? From his very words in the same video. From these very words in the same video. Listen to this. There may and likely will come a time in which we have both an airborne disease that is deadly. If you're talking about a disease that's possibly coming, why would you say both an airborne disease? Both what? Both means two. When you use the word both, it means two. Not one. It's plural. Two. Both. So it's one and another thing. There may and likely will come a time in which we have both an airborne disease that is deadly. What sort of sentence is that? You see, he was thinking of what is to come. He knows what is to come. He knows there's two strains of the same virus. He knows there's two strains of the same virus. Now I am Tavis. I am Prophet Tavis. And I'm speaking from you as a prophet of God. And as a watchman with a trumpet of warning in your hands. That these guys have two viruses, two versions of this virus. One is through touch transmission, and the other is their backup one, which is airborne. Obama says it in his words, because there's a hesitation after he says both. After he says and, actually. He says, he speaks it like this. There may and likely will come a time in which we have both and then he's pausing. Then he just carries on. He says, airborne disease that is deadly. He uses the word airborne. The virus we have got now is not airborne. It's touch. It's from coming into contact. Coming into contact. That's why we're wearing these paper masks or these linen cloth masks and anything like that. It's supposed to be to stop you from coughing on somebody else and spreading it. That lands on a surface and you touch the surface, because they're talking about washing your hands. An airborne virus, washing your hands is pointless because it's in the air. It's in the air. The 20th of January 2017 is when Trump took office. Now, in that same month, Dr. Fauci briefed the Trump White House on a virus that will come in this presidency. How did he know there was a virus coming in his presidency? How? If it was not planned long before. If it was not planned long before, how did he know? Now God has given me visions, glimpses of visions, flashes, and he triggered me with certain words that came up when I was watching certain channels and sitting outside, hearing, just listening. Certain words triggered up and certain visions were triggered by that. And in those visions shows these guys exactly this. The reason in these guys as well, adding up to the numbers, they're trying to add to the numbers. The problem is the medication that they're giving the people that are dying of this virus right now. That virus is feeding on that medication. It feeds on that medication. That's why they don't want you to have the malaria drug issued. One, it's cheap. Secondly, they know it's going to kill the virus. They have prescribed drugs that the virus has been tempted with, that treated with in the labs, and they've got a virus that actually thrives on certain drugs. So they're pushing those drugs into the hospital. The doctors are unaware of that, completely unaware. The doctor is trying to help you, but they are completely unaware that these drugs are being pushed into the hospitals to up the numbers to keep you in lockdown. Just take in New York from the governor of New York. Just take what happened with Cuomo, whatever his name is. He takes people and he sticks them into old age home who have COVID-19. If that's not spreading the virus willingly, then I don't know what. He took people with a virus and stuck them into old age homes, care homes in the US, in New York. That's like taking a rattlesnake and throwing it, a whole bunch of rattlesnakes, into an old age home and saying, no, you'll be fine, don't worry. They won't bite you. Now, because we want to open again, everybody wants to open. The US wants to open. Everybody wants to open because they can recognize that this virus is not what it's said to be. This virus is not what it's said to be. The reason why this virus is not killing as many as they were hoping is that the people of God have been praying against it. The people of God have been prophesying against this in the authority that they have. And this has kept the numbers down. This has kept the numbers down. So now they are looking to their backup plan of an airborne version of this. There's Barack Obama's words right there. There may and likely will come a time in which we have both, and he goes, and then he hesitates, and you realize what he said, and he just carries on and he says, airborne disease that is deadly. We don't have an airborne disease yet. Yet he's talking about an airborne disease. And he's using the word both. So both a contagious by touch disease and an airborne disease. They have two strains of this thing. They have two strains of this COVID-19. One is that is contagious by touch, and another that is contagious airborne. You can throw the mask away, because none of these masks will stop it. But we, as Christians, as children of God, have the power and the authority to stop this. We have the authority to stop this evil in the world that's going on right now. We have to get out and we have to expose them. It's time to expose these frauds and these wicked people for the evil that they are. For the evil that are. Everything is in plain sight. If you read everything, if you go to Obama's words, you go to Dr. Fauci's words, you will see it. It's in plain sight. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. I mean, Obama knows there's a thing on here. I mean, so that if and when a new strain of the flu, like the Spanish flu, crops up 5 years from now, it is exactly 5 years from when he said that we have this coronavirus. Exactly 5 years. He added or a decade from now on because he realized he had spoken the truth. He realized he had slipped the truth out, that 5 years from then they were going to release this virus upon the world. He spoke it out. This evil person Barack Obama, he spoke it out. He mentioned the 5 years. If you were going to say 5 or 10 years, that is your way you would normally speak. You would say, like the Spanish flu crops up 5 or 10 years from now, we're ready for it. But you do not say, like the Spanish flu crops up 5 years from now, hesitation, or a decade from now, when we're ready for it. Or there may and likely will be a time in which we have both two, and he stops, hesitation, airborne. He didn't catch himself properly. There is slipping the two, the airborne disease that is deadly. There's 2 versions of this disease. The first one has been released, and they were hoping to keep you in fear and locked down. But people wanting to open now, they see this is not happening as it was, and God has stopped half the deaths, more than half the deaths that they predicted. He has stopped it because the Christians, the children of God, are crying out and saying, Lord, you've got to intervene here and stop this. The prophets are prophesying what's going on, what they speak in their secret chambers, the evil chambers of this darkness, of these wicked people and wicked men. The prophets are speaking it out, as I am speaking it right now. So, there is authority in your voice, Christians. Children of God, there is authority that's been given to you. That you do not have to cry out to God, that you speak to the bones. And you command this virus to be exposed. You command light into everything. You command it. You have the authority as a child of God to speak to the clouds of heaven for rain, to speak to the storm to stop, to speak to a fruit tree to bear good fruit. You have the authority to call the light of heaven into the darkness and expose this evil for what it is. Expose it for what it is. And it's time the people of God stood now as one and said, no more, devil. No more will you bring these wicked, greedy men and women out and with their deceit and their evil ways and touch the world. For the world, the earth belongs to God. And let's call his glory down. Let's call his glory down. Let him shake the darkness out of this world. Let him shake it out of this world. People, there are 2 versions of this virus. And as soon as people open up, they are going to release the second one. So they can say, see, we told you so. We warned you. If you opened up too soon, this would happen. But it's not because of the virus number 1. It's because of the second one. Because they know their first one is dying. Dying. Because of the authority of God that has been spoken out and killing this evil virus. But now they want to release the second one so they can keep you locked down and under their thumb for the next world order to come out. For greedy men and women, greedy, evil men and women want to control your life. But you are free. You are free and you have the authority over everything that's been created. Jesus said, all authority on heaven and earth has been given to me. And now go. In that authority, drive out demons. In that authority, lay hands on sick and they will recover. In that authority, you will walk on scorpions and tramp on serpents. And if anything deadly poisonous comes to you, it will not harm you. in that authority. It's time for the Christians who recognize their authority and know who they are to stand up and say no more and expose this evil to the light. God bless you. May his favor drip from every part of you. In Jesus' name, amen.